Hello, everyone. So we're live. I'm going to wait for more people to tune in, and then we'll get started. So give it maybe one more minute. Hope you guys are well. It's a pleasure to be connecting with you guys tonight. So we've got 250 people in here so far. All right. So I hope you guys are doing well this evening. There's lots of ground to cover, you guys. Lots. And to be quite frank, I didn't think that I'd be doing a video for the Lionsgate. And what my guide said to me, they said, this is going to be post Lionsgate. So I know I'm not versed in astrology, so I just want to be clear out the gate that I haven't studied astrology. I just go with my own intuitive guidance and the messages that I receive from my guides, my inner guidance system. And what they said was that the energy can be very intensified, or it can spike leading up to the Lionsgate, and then the portal opens, and then we become new versions of who we are. So we kind of up level. So I'm going to talk about how you're going to feel and what you're going to experience symptomatically, or just everything under the umbrella of the ascension post Lionsgate portal. So I don't even know if that's how it works, but that's the guidance I received. And I'm just offering a perspective. So we've got 400 people right now. So we're just going to go ahead. The first thing that I wanted to touch on lightly is that people have asked me, who are the nine? And the best way I would describe them is that it is a multidimensional consciousness. It's an infinite structure of intelligence. So the second I start to speak, I receive plenty of other thoughts. They look like roads or directions that I can take. So as I'm speaking, I'm constantly receiving more. I'm getting inundated with downloads upon downloads, which is why I will usually shut them out and then just jump on live, and then I'll open up the floodgates, if you will. And when I open up the floodgates, I get inundated with all these messages. So the nine live inside of me. It's an aspect of who I am, of who we are. Every guide is an aspect of who you are, because your DNA interconnects together with the entire cosmos. The entire universe dwells within you. We are beings of frequency. So if you guys have watched my video, A Secret to Manifesting, I brought forward more of that Merlin aspect of who I am. Very much revolving your imagination, how to unleash it, and then attaching strong emotions to it. That's a very magician-like energy, the alchemist, that is able to wield his powers or her powers to then bring about a certain outcome. But it's all frequency. So all these guides are different branches that have different specializations. And thank you so much for the donations. I will send you a wave of light telepathically as I see them. So thank you. I thought of a great example to use to kind of explain what the nine are and what they are as a collective consciousness. So if you were at home right now making dinner by yourself, I love this analogy, you guys. If you were at home right now making dinner by yourself, you would have to cook, okay? Then you would probably light a candle. You would set up the table. Then you would sit down, grab your utensils and all your silverware, and then sit down and eat. So it would be a strung out process, okay? Because it would be a sequential process. First, I have to cook, then I have to light a candle, then I have to sit down and prepare the table. You get it? A collective consciousness is if there were 3 people helping you with that dinner. So it's like you're cooking, they're lighting the candle, someone else is setting up the table. That's a collective consciousness. Does that resound? Does that resonate with you guys? So everything happens simultaneously. So when I'm channeling information, or I should say translating, which are one and the same. When I'm translating information, I see all these different people in the kitchen who are preparing things, and then I'm juggling it all. I'm kind of like the stabilizer. I stabilize the field. You know, some people have a hard time bringing through information. That's not my issue. My thing has always been like, I need to slow it all down because there's too much coming in at once. And as I speak, every word has a certain matrix. So every word has a matrix. As I'm speaking, I can hear other words that have an opposing perspective. So it's a never ending, infinite structure of consciousness. You can call it a galactic construct. You can call it an angelic consciousness. You can call them higher aspects of who we are. But when I say higher, they're inside. Because the entire universe is inside. It's a switchboard. So when you connect with a dragon, you're activating that dormant DNA from within you, and the dragon energy comes online. But you are a dragon. From another perspective, you are connecting to the dragon realm. From another perspective, you are an aspect of the dragon. It is an aspect of you. All right. So I love that analogy with cooking a meal, a collective consciousness coming together, getting way more done in less amount of times, getting way more cosmic information. So you're receiving the stream of information. All right. It's an inpouring of information all at the same time. Okay, cool. I hope that was a good analogy for you guys. All right. So speaking of the 9, I went on a walking meditation. And they wanted me to run you through an exercise for the Lionsgate portal that would immediately and instantaneously activate you. Why would it activate you on the fly? Because I've already uploaded the template. Now, a lot of people might say, what do you mean you've already uploaded the template? Well, when we meditate, we access a space of no time, and you can upload templates, you can download information. It's like downloading a recipe for other people to be able to access, to have, there are energies that are at your disposal. And I uploaded a template that is connected to the imagination exercise that we're going to be implementing right now. What this is going to do is it's going to fire up your DNA. So I was a Shaktipat practitioner before I started this whole thing, before I even started speaking. I would work with people one-on-one. I used to call it energy transfer because Shaktipat sounded too foreign, right? It's an Indian term. It's Indian terminology, and it sounded too foreign, so I went into calling it energy transfer. Most of the time I do it through a soft gaze. I just look at you directly. I don't even blink, and I'm able to activate your Kundalini. Tonight we're going to use this visualization. So there are 3 that I want to run through. The first one, okay, and even if you don't feel your Kundalini, you will feel that powerful Syrian energy that is relative to the Lionsgate. The first one is I want you to use your imagination right now and picture that you have a finger in a clear glass of water. Picture it. If you want to get up right now and get a glass of water, you can do that as well. There's nothing wrong with that. I will just invite you to unlock your imagination a little bit. So you're going to imagine that you have your index finger in this clear glass of water. And you're going to start stirring. And the water is turning red. Feel your third eye pulsating. You feel that? Now you're going to keep stirring, and it's going to turn orange. Now you're going to keep stirring, and you're going to go through the chakra, the yellow, and really focus on the movement. It's a rotational movement, right? Clockwise. I want you to focus on the movement in your brain using your imagination, which is the best tool that you'll ever have access to. And you're seeing this water go from red to orange to yellow. Stir again, now it's turning green. Stir again, now it's turning blue. And I'm actually transmitting light codes as you do this. Stir again, now it's turning indigo. Stir again, and now it's becoming violet. Do you guys feel that? Okay. Whether you felt it or not is irrelevant because the template was already uploaded for you guys. So subliminally, subconsciously, you've already accepted the transfer. Okay. Now we're going to do something else. I want you to imagine yourself to be a runway model. Whether you're male or female, you are a model, and there is a whole audience out there, a whole crowd, and you're about to walk out and look straight ahead and envision yourself walking through that runway like you own your power, like all eyes are on you. And this power takes over you. And you're a true professional, and you're walking unapologetically, fearlessly, owning your power, embodying all that you are. And you're walking down that runway with a gust, with pizzazz. And you can even stand up and do this. You can walk like you mean it and look straight ahead, unapologetically. That feeling, that's your power. That's you flipping a light switch on. Yeah, you're looking straight ahead. You're walking. Nothing can wobble you out of alignment. All right? Now we're going to go through a third exercise. So good job, you guys. Yeah, it does. And I'm telling you, if you actually got up right now and walked, you would feel the power. You can even raise an eyebrow with attitude. And you're walking down that runway and all those eyes are on you. And you're just owning that power. Nice. And then we're going to do one more. You're going to imagine, you can use your hands if you want, but I tend to use my third eye. I tend to use my visualization. Now I want you to envisage that you have a red ball in between both of your hands. Now, I'm going to hook you up to your third eye, to that technology. All right? And I want you to squeeze that red ball as hard as you can, because it can't pop. It's not going to burst. I just want you to squeeze it. You guys feel that? Do it again. Squeeze that ball as hard as you can. It's a red ball, like a basketball, and you're going to squeeze it as hard as you can. And feel that third eye pulsing. Very good. All right, we have 830 people in here. All right, so we have a lot of ground to cover today. But If you want, you can repeat these exercises on your own time, but just know that I uploaded the template for you, and everything we just did, your soul understood. We are returning you back to your power, to your original self, to that native frequency of your immortality, of your omnipotence, of your indestructibility. We are returning you to that power. It's a very Syrian-like energy. The Syrians are no nonsense. They don't play around. Cool? Nice. Okay, so I'm going to share this, but please know that I'm not coming from I want to say condescending place, or like I'm too cool for school. It's not coming from that place. But there's something that I've been experiencing lately that feels very, I want to say it feels very true. For the last 2 years, I've really been in training to that higher dimensional timeline of the 5D New Earth. And I feel like I've anchored in 5D. I'm anchored in 5D New Earth now. And when people reach out to me, people from my past, or sometimes I'll receive DMs online of maybe someone who wants to go grab a bite or something, I always feel like it's a reality that I've already left behind. Okay? It's almost like I found my wings and I soared. I've soared up to this higher dimensional plane. And again, it's not coming from I'm a more superior person than you. It's not like that at all. But what it is that when you start to collapse timelines, when you start to rid yourself of things that aren't serving or supporting you, all those old realities start to fall away. They really do. It's like clothes that just comes off because you've lost weight. It just falls to the ground. I love that analogy. And I started feeling it about, I would say, a year and a half ago, where I would see people and be like, you know what? I recognize your soul. And I'm sure that if we had met 3 years ago, we probably would have been best friends right now. But I went on a different trajectory in my life, and I can see the divine in everyone. But I really feel like the train has left the station, if that makes sense. And that when people reach out to me, a lot of times it feels like the past, like a past timeline, but my train already left, but they can't see that. I know that sounds really bad, but just stick with me, just because I want to get this point across, because the 9 kind of shared that with me, that a lot of people are going to be feeling this now. Because you've been doing so much shadow work, and you've been in that contemplative, introspective, meditative mode of operation for a while now, all those older 3D and 4D realities dropped away. Okay? They were like constructs that weren't in proportion to who you are anymore. And you knew that you were almost on the rise, or that you were flying up to this other realm. And now a lot of the people who are reaching out to you, they're going to think that you're on the same version of Earth as you, which from one perspective, we don't want to disregard that. We're all part of a collective. But I do want to emphasize that planet Earth is multidimensional. Okay? The splitting of the timelines has already occurred. There's a bifurcation, 3D and 5D, and then people in 4D. And planet Earth, some people are inhabiting the lower tier of planet Earth, or the lower version of planet Earth. And I don't mean that to disrespect planet Earth at all. Actually, the message I'm getting right now is planet Earth loves us so unconditionally that even though she's already ascended, she's still gonna hold space and keep her 3D and 4D realities alive for a while, because she loves her children that much. It's kind of like when you've empowered yourself in your life and your family didn't understand you. Okay, you were kind of like the enigma in the family, but because you love them unconditionally, you didn't just cut them off and clip them off. Like, you held a space for them to kind of readjust to the new you. Okay, so planet Earth is a 5th dimensional planet now, but she's kept some of those 3D and 4D timelines alive and intact for people to find their way, if that makes sense, to still play out whatever experience they deem necessary for them and for their evolution, because she's that patient. She's not in a rush. She knows where she stands now. She knows where she stands. So I've just been getting this feeling of when people hit me up, they're like a past version of Earth, or they're on a different version of Earth. And as close as they are, they still feel very far because I feel like I'm not there anymore. So from their perception, they're like, oh, well, the train is still here because I'm in proximity to them. They could see me. My energy is palpable, but my train actually left the station a long time ago. So I'm not sharing this to be like, oh, I'm too good for you. You can't reach me now. But when we awaken, we take inventory of the people who are really there for us unconditionally, who get us. Like, if it wasn't for certain people on Instagram, I would not have 930 people on my YouTube right now. Like, I give thanks to those people because they saw my light when I didn't have any followers. And I see your light if you don't have followers. I'm wired that way. I don't equate popularity with how many followers you have, or your divinity, rather, with your popularity. I don't see it that way. And there were certain people who saw my light from the get-go, and I'm forever grateful to those people. And now I'm able to help other people. Okay, it's like a paid forward, kind of giving back. It's just how I'm wired. But there were people who didn't see my light back then. But I knew what I was. I knew that I was a beaming light. I knew it. And a lot of those people will start to come back around in your life and be like, oh, I want a piece of this cake. And it's like, I love you, but I left that reality a long time ago. So not vindictively, I'm not sharing this, we want to take revenge on people. It's not like that at all. It's a sincere, I feel light, and I've moved up now, if that makes sense. Even though there's no up or down, that's a dualistic presentation, but it's still a necessary presentation just to get the point across. So then I got this interesting download today, okay, of what this is going to feel like for you guys. What it's going to feel like is, let's just step into the shoes of Brad Pitt for a minute. It's a random example, but just stick with me. Let's step into the shoes of Brad Pitt for a moment. Brad Pitt, before he became Brad Pitt, he knew he was Brad Pitt. He sensed intuitively that he was going to blow up as an actor. Blowing up is relative. It could mean that you're going to be the best mom in the world. It can be that you're going to be a citizen of the universe doing good for humanity. Okay, it's relative. But I'm just going to use a celebrity for now, just to kind of drive the point home. Brad Pitt knew before he became Brad Pitt and landed his first deal that he was going to be Brad Pitt, because he already was Brad Pitt. You already know that you're a divine being of love and light. You already know that you matter. You already know that your energy is impactful. You already know that your energy is purposeful. You don't need to be a celebrity to know that. You know it in your heart, in your soul. So let's just play with this story. I like this story. 3 months before Brad Pitt scored his first big movie, he was like, oh, I'm Brad Pitt now. Now I have to have more boundaries. Now I have to just really focus in on my mission. But of course, people probably started popping out of the woodwork, messaging him in those 3 months before he blew up. Because subconsciously, they were picking up on a signal, not their conscious, their subconscious was picking up on a signal that he was going to become Brad Pitt. And he knew that they were picking up on that signal. Is that making sense, you guys? He knew it. So by the time they reached out, it was like, oh, it's too late. Like, it's too late. I've already left that entire reality. I'm not looking for my break anymore. It's here, it's arrived, but people don't know that yet. So whether that you're someone who's about to fall in love, or someone's about to propose, or you're about to catch a break with your business, your business is about to flourish. You know this. There's like an intuitive knowing. It's a certainty that this is here. You can taste it, you can feel it, you can hear it. It's palatable. But what happens when you're on the cusp of a major breakthrough? Other people who are great, they're wonderful people, they might try to bumble their way into your field because they're picking up on that. But the thing is, you've been working on yourself. You've been doing you. So why are they trying to enter now? Now, these people might be well-intended, but remember, we all have different programs that we're running that are linked to the unconscious realm. And we reach out to people because we don't always know why we're reaching out to people. Wow, we have 1,000 people on live tonight. This is the most we've ever had. So I like the whole metaphor with Brad Pitt, even though I don't know if that's what happened, but I imagine that that's what happens. You know, you're like, ooh, I've made it over my hump spiritually. God is about to provide. My angels are about to provide. I am a star because I've always seen myself as a star in the sky, in the night sky. And I knew that the day would come where I would shine. But I've already left the reality of thinking that someone's going to give me my break or someone's going to take me under their wing. And because I'm about to be Brad Pitt, I have to be responsible, and I can't just go out and have, dinners with people or whatever. Like, he has to start protecting that energy. I want to say guarding his energy. So yeah, that's what's happening to a lot of you right now. You've been diligently working on yourself, and there's all this fruit that's about to kind of drop from your tree. And you may find that people come at you and they're just picking up on the timeline that you've already landed on, but you're really actually already on a different version of Earth. You've arrived at a new vista of consciousness. You have a whole different view of reality now. You're sitting on your back porch and you can see a completely different view. And again, this is not from a vengeful place or a hostile place or a vindictive place. This is from a place of, this is where I am. I've been doing my work and now I've lightened the load, and I'm really keeping to myself because I'm surrounded by guides, surrounded by angels, surrounded by the people who love me unconditionally and who see me for what I am, who see me for my light. And they don't see my light as being my success or as being my celebrity or as being this business that's about to blow up. They see me for who I am. Okay? All right. I like that analogy a lot. So, the other message I was getting, you guys, is that the more awakened you become, the more aware you are as a whole. You can really sense and see and detect energies that are still swimming in that pond of the 3D. You can still see all of that. So what's going to happen is that, okay, wait, I lost my train of thought. Okay, now that you've graduated yourself into this higher timeline, what this Lionsgate portal is bringing is people are not going to be able to hide behind their mask anymore. So you're going to see a lot more trolls on your social media. You might see a lot more haters in your life, in your immediate circle, because the energy has become so potent that we can't hide behind the mask anymore. People are going to displace their anger onto you. They're going to displace all of these things because you're the exemplification of that power. You're embodying source energy as being a frequency. So Mother Earth gave them some wiggle room, right, to kind of clean up their act. But that time is up. You can't hide behind your desk or hide behind the bush and go, ooh, they won't see this. Everything is going to be visible now. Everything is going to be visible. The entire matrix is going to blow up in everyone's face. This entire matrix system is being debunked. So the people who haven't been doing their work won't be able to contain themselves. You know, when you go to the movie theater and they're like, refrain from using your cellular phone, they won't be able to refrain from spewing hate or from spewing their anger. They won't be able to. Because we've reached critical mass. The Starseed Collective, the Lightworkers, the Wayshowers, the Ambassadors of New Earth, the Guardians of the Galaxy, we've reached a critical mass. So that higher dimensional energy is of the future, if you will. So the more conscious you are, the more in the future you're living. So you have more access to future timelines, right? So that energy of the star seeds is going to override this entire reality. Anything that isn't conscious is going to be brought to the light. Because we've done such tremendous work as a collective consciousness that that higher dimensional energy is going to override all other energies. Okay, it's kind of like when you have grandma, all right, she's sitting on her rocking chair. What's up, child? What you need, right? Like she's like super wise. And she has all these children and then the children of the children. And she's the wise grandmother. And she knows everything, okay? She's not judgmental. She knows everything about everyone. That energy is going to override anything that's out of whack. So the star seeds are now the determining factor. They're dictating our future realities in linear time. We've opened up our psychic faculties. We've opened up our multidimensional access. And when you open up these portals, the Lionsgate portal, which we already did, by the way, when you open up these portals to those higher realms, all these other beings, this is amazing. I'm loving this visual. Think of it as like a DNA helix or a triple braid of energy. When we open up our multidimensional access, there's like an upward spiraling braid that actually moves in both directions. And just imagine that right now it's spiraling downward. All these other beings and angelics and galactics are going to descend upon this earth. And now it's not just the star seeds, it's the star seeds, the ETs, the angelics, it's all of us. Which is why you might hear certain channelers say, Michelle, thank you so much. You might hear, oh, thank you so much. By the way, I'm sorry, the reason I took a pause is because 8888, 4 times 8 is 36, and it adds up to a 9. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so wait, is 4 times 8? I don't even know. Anyways, thank you so much for your donation. So are aliens already here? Of course they are. Are angels already here? Of course they are. Which is why you might hear some channelers say that one person who's awake is more powerful than a million, because that's the truth. One physical body, one physical human suit that can hold 10 realities at the same time, or 10 galactic constructs of intelligence at the same time, is more powerful than 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people. Because it's not just one person. It's everything else that is connected to that frequency, that's a match to that frequency. It's all the beings, the extra dimensionals, the celestial beings. It's all of that. Our body is now able to hold much more light. It's photonic light. Light is intelligence. Light is information. Light is consciousness. I used to joke with my friends when I started awakening, because I'd go to the gym and the entire time my guides would be like, do this with your toe, do this with your elbow, do this with your hand. It was so annoying. But I used to say, I'm so pissed that I can't just work out like I used to. In high school, I was like, yeah, I can't do that anymore because I'm not an individual. I'm a community of spirits. And I used to say that and joke with my friends. I'm not one being anymore. I'm a community of spirits. You're hooked up to infinite intelligence, which is our original state. Your original self. I call it the original self. So, what else did I want to say? Trying to see. Let me see if I did anything. Okay. One more thing I want to share. Actually, two more things. You want to, what the nine are saying is the people who aren't able to hide behind their mask anymore, when they try to spew this hate or this jealousy or this envy, this is the message that's coming in. Observe the negativity, but don't engage. Collect data instead. Observe the negativity, but don't engage. Collect data instead. What does this mean? Well, when you can activate your observational technology of your third eye, of your heart, working together, meaning that you don't judge people, you're able to witness everything with coherence, you can start to extract and pull information from the entire cosmos. If you get wound up and you get wrapped up in someone's melodrama, then you blind yourself spiritually. You go unconscious, okay? Because you're getting caught up in the game. So when you're in your emotions like that and you're all wound up, it's very difficult to observe things from a neutral standpoint, from an objective standpoint. And you guys know I always say, when you're in alignment with your higher self, when you're in alignment, you can read energy objectively. When you're in alignment, you can read energy objectively. It's not backed by like an emotional charge of negativity. You're just like, boom, this is what it is. It's like the weatherman who's like, it's going to rain today, folks. Or, expect thunder showers. Like, you're just matter of fact. There's no judgment in you that's distorting you or fogging you up. You can see things as they are, precisely. So if someone comes at you with negativity, observe it, but don't engage. Collect data instead. What patterns are they running? Okay? This is all Akashic information. The Akashic Records is a living library of everything that's ever existed, is existing, and will exist, including everything that could have existed, could potentially exist, and could potentially happen. So the living library is a moving, it's like, I always call it it's almost like a blob of intelligence, and it's always changing, which is why I say possibilities are always subject to change. What was possible this morning might have changed based on an attitude adjustment, based on an alteration that you had within your perceptual stance. So possibilities are always, always, always subject to change, which is why I never discourage people, and I never say things like, you'll never be with that person again, because you might be. And that's going to be dependent upon how you show up. Are you showing up in self-honor, in self-value? Are you holding up your ideals, your beliefs, your virtues? But then there's also the other person. They have to be on board with that too. So it's a game of percentage, if you will. Any psychic that tells you this is written in stone, they're still operating linearly. God bless their soul. I love them. Thank you for being of service to the collective. But any psychic that tells you this won't happen or this will happen, they might be right in the sense that they're tuning into the most dominant timeline. So if you've been making really poor choices if you piss someone off enough, they're probably not going to talk to you again. You get it? You get the gist? So they're probably tuning into the most probable or most dominant timeline, but everything is rewritable. From my experience, everything is rewritable. Everything is reversible. That's just how it works. So thanks guys for the donations. I really appreciate you. So what was I saying? Oh yes, the Akashic Records. People come at you with negativity, just observe, okay? Pull out your invisible magnifying glass. We did an imagination exercise earlier on in the call, and you can implement that. Start applying these different exercises. Imagine that you have a magnifying glass and you're like, ooh, what's going on over there? It's a pattern that they're running within their operating system. And then you can link that to an Akashic record, to a past life, and just relax your mind. Allow for that information to come in. Okay, I like to use the visual of like, I'm like a garbage can. I know that's really bad, but I just kind of open my lid, whoop, and I receive all this information. Boop, boop, boop. So I think that's a fun one to play with. The garbage can. Yeah, I know, but it works. All right, this is going to lead me to probably my last topic tonight. I had to shut the 9 out all day because I'm like, you guys, I can't, it's too much. I get barraged with information, so I prefer to just cut them out for a while. And then when I go on my walking meditation an hour before the YouTube, then I get kind of an idea of what we're going to be talking about. So the words that came through in cap locks were Akashic sensitivity. And I don't know if anyone's ever used those words. Maybe they have. But Akashic sensitivity. Okay? So let's segue into this. I've noticed for myself that the more multidimensional I become, the more I see that every word has a matrix. It has a field around it. So when people say things like, keep it up to you or whoever, keep it up, or you don't have to justify yourself. That's a great one. You don't have to explain. These words, you don't have to, keep it up, they're impositional. So the person may be completely oblivious to the fact that they're energizing an old record when they speak. I know this is really profound. I know this is really deep stuff. But when they say those words, they're unconsciously energizing an archive held within the Akashic record that's asking to be rewritten. And instead of rewriting it, they're feeding it. It's like a monster that's like, ooh, gobbling up the food. Sometimes people will say, have a good day, and there's no charge, like they really mean it. Have a great day. And you're like, oh, have a great day too. But because people are still harboring a lot of programming within their system, there will usually be a bit of a tinge of being under the dominance of these different programs. I hope this is making sense. So when people say, you don't have to explain yourself, I always hear a voice that's like, I know I don't have to explain myself. I'm choosing of my own volition to explain myself. So there's an opposing perspective, which means that that's still duality. I'm not saying I'm that thought. I'm saying I hear that thought. And I've learned how to observe my thoughts and kind of like a spectator. Ooh, that's interesting. There's an opposing viewpoint to what that person just said, which means that it's still within the realm of duality. So if someone says, oh, you really agitated me, you have to apologize. I always hear a voice that's like, I don't have to do anything. I don't owe you anything. That's not coming from me, okay? They're just different voices that you hear that are part of these different constructs. And I think that the reason we're becoming more psychically attuned is so that we can start to break down these old systems. So that we can come into unity. What does unity mean? I'm not going to try to impose things on you. I'm not going to try to convert you. I'm not going to try to accuse you. That's all very exerting power over someone else. You have to apologize. I don't have to do shit. That's the truth. So when you're now, if I choose to apologize and I see that I did something wrong, of course I'll apologize. Again, this isn't about me. I'm sharing the information. So when people say things like, you have to do this, or have a great day. Well, what if I want to have a sad day? What if I want to have a day where I cry? These are all energies that kind of sink their claws into you. Because if you said something like, well, what if I want to have a sad day? They would probably have a reaction, a negative one, which would indicate that there's still programming held within their system. If you say, and I know the have a good day is a bad example because I really don't mind when people say have a good day, to be honest, but it's just to draw a point. If someone says, have a great day or be positive, well, what if I want to be negative? If you see that they have a reaction, like they're flaring up, that means that they still have a program, meaning that they were feeding all those old records that kept them enslaved. And because you freed yourself in that moment, or you're choosing that you're already free, they're going to feel reactive. So you're going to notice that you have Akashic, I want to say hypersensitivity. Hypersensitivity. Never stop what you're doing, right? That's another one. Well, what if I want to be a scuba diver next year? I might stop what I'm doing. But people do this thing because, first off, they're completely unaware that they're doing it. But it does feed into that old narrative of let's try to I want to say overrule each other. Let me try to have power over you. It's all a game of vying for power. Okay? Let me know if you watched the show. Let me know if you got around to watching the show. Like, why? Why do you need to let me know? Just let it go. Recommend the show and let it go. All right? So I'll recommend shows to my friends, but I'm not going to check up and be like, hey, did you watch the show? Or let me know when you finish watching it, because that puts pressure on them. And it's not even about them. It's about me. It's about me wanting to align to that highest version of who I am, which is to not try to exercise power over other people. So Akashic sensitivity. Akashic sensitivity. I know this is a long live, but I know I just had a lot to share tonight. There's one more message I want to weave into this. I know. One more message that loops back to what I shared earlier. You're becoming more multidimensional. Your power is returning to you. You're claiming all that you are. You're no longer apologizing for who you are. You're taking a strong vibrational stance. You have a strong spiritual composition, okay? You're not going to fall back asleep. You're not going to fall back into old patterning, no matter how tempting it is. So with that said, a beautiful message came in today, which was that it's not always about letting it go. Sometimes it's about not letting it in. It's not always about letting go. Sometimes it's about not letting it in. That deserves an amen right there, in a non-Christian way or a Christian way, it doesn't matter. But it's not always about letting go. Sometimes it's about not letting it in, okay? Or letting it go. You can use it interchangeably. It's not always about letting it go. Sometimes it's about not letting it in. What that means is that when you regard yourself as someone who's broken, as someone who is flawed in the eyes of God, as someone who's imperfect, you will always think that you have to let things go, right? Because you're healing, which is a valid approach. But now that we've activated your innate power through this Lionsgate portal, I challenge you to play with something different, which is, I'm not going to let something in that isn't congruent to who I know myself to be, which is an indestructible, immortal, perfect in the eyes of God, complete and whole individual. I'm not going to buy into the lies. I'm not going to absorb falsehoods anymore. I'm not going to adopt limiting beliefs anymore. I'm not going to let it in. That's it. You're whole. And I invite you to play with that perspective. Just to play, because all of them are real. Again, it's all accurate. It's all relevant. Is just play with that. Rather than thinking that you have to let something go, just say to yourself, from now on, I'm whole, and I'm just not going to let it in. If someone says to you, do you want to go to a movie next week? And you're not feeling that, just say that. Right now, I'm not planning that. That's it. You're not letting it in. Because I'm telling you something, you guys. Everyone, including me, we were deeply conditioned from a young age. All right? We have subliminal energies constantly being pumped out at us from the television, from the news that is super contrived. It's just a TV show. From radio, from you name it, from your parents' beliefs, from your ancestors' beliefs. And we've inherited a lot of those generational bloodlines. So we were programmed, we kind of set it up this way, to be honest. So it's by design. We pre-architected this reality. And we've set it up in a certain way where we would fall asleep, completely disconnect from our God self, to eventually awaken and reconnect to the truth. But in order to reconnect, you have to disconnect from the lie. In order to unify from within and to move into unity consciousness, you have to separate from separation consciousness. You have to separate from people who judge. You have to separate from people who are living in lack. You have to separate yourself from all these things that belong to an older matrix system. So it's kind of like a paradox, right? I'm separating to unify. Yes, you're separating to unify because the whole thing is a lie. The whole thing is a matrix system. And there are higher matrices and lower matrices. And what we're doing now is unplugging from the 3D time-dimensional reality and moving into a non-time, a non-linear time-dimensional reality. So you have to separate from the separation consciousness in order to unify from within and move into unity consciousness. And from there, you have a clear view of what's going on. You don't even have 2 eyes. You don't even have 3 eyes. You have eyes everywhere. You know exactly what's going on. You're in the know. You have all this intel. And from that space, you can see who's programmed. And because those programs were in you, they were firmly instilled in you from a young age, it is very, very easy to fall back asleep. I mean, think of how you feel around your family sometimes. You're like, oh, I can't wait to go back to California. Can't wait to go back to New York, right? Because it was inbred. So the second you're around unconscious people, and I love my family, they're not unconscious. I'm just saying, when you're around unconscious people, they might be amazing human beings. But the fact of the matter is they're still running all that lower dimensional programming and they're not even aware of it. So what that program's going to do is like an octopus, it's going to try to sink its tentacles into you and transfer the virus back to you. From the space where you're already whole, you don't have a virus. You're awakened now. You're sharp as a tack. You've smartened up. You can see everything. You're not going to let things slide in. So from that space, you're not going to let an octopus sink its tentacles in you. The virus is very crafty. And different people host the virus. There are different hosts. It's the virus that makes you unconscious. We don't want to blame it. It was part of the game that you designed as the maker of your reality before you incarnated. But now that you've found yourself, now that you've reached a higher measure of your divinity, you can know better than to let it in. Sometimes you'll slip, and then you'll go, oh, I feel like I'm regressing. That's okay. At least you know how to make that correction now. And you're not correcting yourself, because from that vantage point, you are perfect. There's nothing to correct. You're removing the malware from your biological computer, which is your body, which is housing you. This is a technology. But like any technology, it can receive malware. Those emails that pop up and you click and you're screwed. You just gave your money away. So let's sharpen up. Sharp as a tack. And wow, I think this is my longest video on YouTube, you guys. I know it was a lot. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the donations. I really appreciate you. Yeah. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so, because it's helping the word get out. And we're at 1.2K people online right now. How amazing. So thanks, everyone. And please like if you want to like. If you'd like to subscribe, please do. If not, I honor you anyways, because I'd rather you free yourself from whatever matrix you're holding in your body than to subscribe to me. And I love you so much, you guys. And I'm going to find a nice, cute thumbnail now and upload it. All right? Take care, guys.